this is going to be a game that is like the quintessential Fatal Fury experience. So,
Showdown! Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves.
Fatal Fury City of the Wolves releases in less than a week, and as a longtime fan of this classic arcade franchise, I'm going to be playing it a lot. I've spent the better part of the last year researching everything related to this game, the decades-long franchise that it hails from, as well as playing through every single game featuring Terry Bogard that I could get my filthy degenerate pirate hands on.
Here's the big one! Come on, baby.
Light fire!
All right.
Using this wealth of collective fighting game knowledge, I'm here to tell you everything we currently know about SNK's newest addition to the Fatal Fury franchise. The game officially releases on April 24th, but if you pre-ordered it, then you'll get to play it a few days early on April 21st. You'll also get access to the classic Terry Bogard costume as a pre-order bonus, which is honestly the only justification that I needed. City of the Wolves is a direct sequel to Mark of the Wolves and the 8th or 9th chapter in the ongoing Fatal Fury narrative, which began all the way back in 1991. Although the canonical lore and naming conventions make the numbering a bit complicated, so it might be the 10th.
Garo, Mark of the Wolves.
At release, the game will feature 17 playable characters, along with an additional 5 DLC fighters that will be introduced throughout the first season at no extra cost. Most of the roster is comprised of returning Fatal Fury veterans, mainly from Mark of the Wolves, along with 2 new faces and a handful of guest characters. There's the new star of the story, Rock Howard, who was raised and trained by Terry Bogard following the apparent death of his father, Geese Howard, back in Fatal Fury 3. I should mention that Geese came back again in Real Bout Fatal Fury, only to be killed off again, which is sort of an ongoing gag with fighting game final bosses at this point, but regardless, Terry became Rock's mentor at the end of Fatal Fury 3. To avoid turning this into a breakdown of the entire Fatal Fury lore, all you need to know about Rock for now is that he's searching for answers about his missing mother, just like he was in the last game. If you did want a breakdown of the entire Fatal Fury story, well, you'll just have to wait, because that monster of a video is still in production. Next up in the roster is Hotaru Futaba, another fighter searching for answers about the mysterious murder of her mother and the disappearance of her older brother. Which leads us to Gato, a stoic martial arts master whose mother was slain by his father and who may or may not be the missing brother of Hotaru. It's heavily implied that he is, but he'll never admit to it, even if it is true. There's also Tizak, a baby-faced pro wrestler that supports children's charities with his prize money and believes strongly in justice and honor. He's also appeared in the King of Fighters franchise using an alternate in-ring persona called the King of Dinosaurs, not only encouraging the theory that birds are dinosaurs, but also my personal theory that all fighting game lore is equivalent to a pro wrestling stage performance, more commonly referred to as kayfabe. Next up is Bijane, another face from the recent KOF roster who's returning to her original franchise along with her supportive pirate crew, signature special moves, and spicy ring attire. Next up in the roster and serving as a go-between that intersects the Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting franchises is Marco Rodriguez. He's a master of Kyokugen Ryu Karate and was personally trained by the star of the Art of Fighting, Ryo Sakazaki. He also had an unfortunate name change incident in the Western translations of the last game, but we're not going to talk about that. Instead, we'll talk about Kevin Ryan, a police SWAT officer who's out for justice after his partner was murdered by a mysterious person with long hair. He acts as the legal guardian of his fallen partner's son, Marky, and according to what I've been told, he's a distant relative of Blue Mary, another legacy Fatal Fury character who's been Terry's Are They Together or Not love interest since Fatal Fury 3. Next up is Kim Dong-hwan, a Taekwondo master and a son of the legendary kicking crusader of justice from Korea, Kim Kap-won. Dong-hwan is not as disciplined as his father or his brother and brings his own rebellious flair to his family's traditional fighting style. Another returning Mark of the Wolves character with ties to the OG Fatal Fury cast is Hoku Tomorrow. He appeared as a young teenager in the last game, but as you can see, he's been aged up significantly for this one. He's also lost his signature wooden sword, but has perfected his mastery of the Shiranui style. That's the same style as Andy Bogard in My Shiranui, which is why a lot of his techniques look so similar to theirs. The final Mark of the Wolves fighter returning for this game's starting roster is its final boss, Kain R. Heinlein. At the end of the last game, he took Rock under his wing to reveal answers about Rock's missing mother, Marie. We've also got two entirely new characters to the franchise premiering in this game, one with ties to the OG Legacy roster, and another that's directly linked to a fighter from the Mark of the Wolves era. Fox Reaper is a mysterious fighter whose style and moveset are very similar to the last game's sub-boss, Grant. Vox even carries around Grant's broken mask and sometimes uses it while performing some of his special techniques. Preacha is a young energetic scientist and Muay Thai master who was trained by Joe Higashi, one of the OG Wolves of Southtown. For those of you who may be unaware, at the dawn of this franchise back in 1991, the only three playable protagonists were Terry and Andy Bogard, along with their best friend for life, Joe Higashi, which is why I often refer to them as the OG Wolves. Anyway, the alpha of that OG pack, the leading star of this entire series, and in my humble opinion, the greatest fighting game character of all time, Terry Bogard, is obviously part of the starting lineup. Despite Rock being prominent in this current chapter, he's still just a subplot in the Fatal Fury lore, which at its core is still the story of Terry Bogard, the legendary Hungry Wolf. Don't anyone ever forget that, okay? Also making her return to the franchise after missing out on Mark of the Wolves as SNK's spiciest showgirl, Mai Shiranui, who's probably gonna be looking for Andy again, but she'll have to wait like the rest of us for the DLC season. The final Legacy Fatal Fury member making a return in this game is Terry Bogard's personal rival, Geese Howard's right-hand man, the bow-staff-wielding British bad boy for life, Billy Khan. Billy's always been a pure badass, and that's all I really have to say. If you want to know more, then you'll just have to wait for my big Terry Bogard history video like the rest of the internet. The final two fighters of the starting roster are, to put it simply, controversial. Both of them are real-life personalities, and their inclusion in the game can directly be linked to one of SNK's leading financial benefactors. One of them is popular soccer superstar Cristiano Ronaldo, and the other is a famous disc jockey, Salvatore Ganacci. If you want to know my personal thoughts on these two guest characters, then drop by my Twitch stream sometime and ask me about it, because I don't have time in this video for a rant. That being said, they both appear to have fun and unique playstyles, and do serve to make the roster more dynamic, even if their personalities feel a bit forced when placed against the mainline roster of fictional faces. As for the DLC characters that'll be joining the roster during Season 1, we already know who to expect. Both Andy Bogard and Joe Higashi will be returning to the lineup to fill out the entire team of OG Wolves, solidifying this as a true Fatal Fury experience. And to bring this game all the way back to its canonical roots, we'll also be getting the first appearance of an Art of Fighting guest character since the secret boss appearance of Ryo Sakazaki all the way back in Fatal Fury Special. This will be the original crime lord kingpin of Southtown, Mr. Big. He was the final boss in the first Art of Fighting, where he worked directly under the true crime lord of Southtown, the possibly immortal villain of the Fatal Fury franchise, Geese Howard, who's also probably going to return, but more on that later. Because the final Season 1 DLC characters are the ones that I'm most excited for. They represent what got me back into fighting games again in the first place, the potential for a new Capcom vs SNK. Much like Terry and Mai recently joining the mainline Street Fighter roster, two of Street Fighter's most iconic characters will be crossing over into Fatal Fury, possibly merging these two multiverses together as build-up towards something bigger. I'm of course talking about Ken Masters and Chun-Li, who are both the long-standing Capcom rivals to Terry and Mai, due to the fact that both of these game franchises spawned from the same creative game director at the dawn of the genre, Takashi Nishiyama. Long story short, both Street Fighter and Fatal Fury were created by Nishiyama, and they share so many contextual similarities that Terry Bogard almost became the main protagonist of Street Fighter until the Capcom team settled on Ryu and Ken. It's even been confirmed that the guy in the Street Fighter 1 title card is basically an unnamed uncredited first appearance of Terry Bogard, not only linking the franchises together, but also sort of making Terry the very first superpowered Street Fighter ever. As for the game itself, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves features a ton of deep combat mechanics, various game modes, customization options, and a nearly complete collection of classic SNK fighting game music. The core feature of the game's combat mechanics is the all-new Rev system. Using the Rev system, players can boost their special techniques into Rev arts that deal extra damage, move significantly faster, and can be linked into larger combos for flashy finishers. Rev arts can also be cancelled into each other to perform special move combo chains known as Rev Excels. Rev guards can be used to negate chip damage, and when combined with the SPG gauge, the Rev system can be used to perform Rev blows. Rev blows are armored special attacks that can power through your opponent's offense, leading to reversal opportunities that shouldn't be wasted. These moves are only available when the life meter enters the SPG range, which also provides a minor stat buff and health regeneration when activated. Using any of these Rev system mechanics during combat builds up your Rev gauge, which can lead to an overheat status effect if the gauge maxes out. When overheated, a fighter briefly loses access to the Rev system's techniques until the Rev gauge cools down again, severely limiting their effectiveness in battle. The game also provides players with a defensive system that's carried over from Mark of the Wolves, known as Just Defended. In this game, it's been expanded, allowing players to perform perfectly timed parries, air blocks, and guard cancels that can reverse the momentum of a bout. But the combat systems don't end there, because you can also run, short hop, throw, dodge, feint attacks, and even stop certain special techniques mid-animation using a system called braking. And if remembering how to perform input commands is a problem for you, then you'll be glad to know that the Smart Style can be used to perform limited combo routes and one-button special techniques. However, when playing with the Smart Style controls, some of the game's combat systems like braking and feinting are limited, making it slightly more predictable than classic controls. Like most other modern fighting games, City of the Wolves launches with plenty of online and offline game modes that players can use to hone their skills and test their limits. These game modes include, but are not limited to, arcade ladders, versus matches, online matches, training modes, and even a special single-player campaign called Episodes of Southtown. We also know that at least one special type of dynamic match mode will be available at launch. This will be the surprising return of the two-lane battle format, which was originally the Fatal Fury franchise's defining feature. It was also hinted by the devs at the recent EVO showcase that additional dynamic match types could be coming in future DLC seasons, most notably the ring out system not seen in the series since before or after the first real bout Fatal Fury.
On top of that, again, there's a lot of content. Maybe sometime in the future, you'll be able to ring out your own friends.
Wait, what?
This dedication to the series doesn't end there, however, because also included in the game are over 300 music tracks that all hail from both the classic Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting franchises. Using this massive music collection, you'll be able to customize your gaming experience with your own musically enhanced flair. And when it comes to customization, you'll also be able to flare up your fighters with their own style by altering their costumes and color schemes. The final thing you should know is that the dev team is committed to providing at least 3 seasons of additional content, with the first season being included upon purchasing the game.
We've promised, committed to DLC, Season Pass 1, 2, and 3.
The devs have even gone so far as to claim that many of the franchise's classic cast will likely be making their long-awaited returns to the series, planning to release a new character about every 2 months for the next 3 years.
We've promised, committed to DLC, Season Pass 1, 2, and 3. And the type of rate that we're going, every 2 months, you can expect a new character to be joining the roster. Of course, within those seasons, we're going to be adding more content. And this is going to be a game that is like the quintessential Fatal Fury experience. So, essentially, perhaps all of your favorite characters are coming back.
Bro, that's like...
Which obviously begs the question, who do you think will be coming back to the mean streets of Southtown? I'll save my speculations for a future video, but let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll be streaming the shit out of this game when it pre-releases on April 21st, so if you want to check it out early and see my first impressions, then smash the follow button over on the Twitch channel. And always remember that whether I see you here in the comments, over on the Twitch chat, or someplace else across the Streamiverse, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, see ya! Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Vale,